Welcome back to class. This is week 2, day 2. Today we're going to talk about JavaScript and HTML. JavaScript is useless without HTML most of the time. Okay? Obviously JavaScript is useful sometimes without it, but we need to know how to hook up our JavaScript with HTML. Oops. But before we do that, we need to recap what we did yesterday. What did we do yesterday, guys?
Learned some JavaScript terms.
Yeah. What are some of the JavaScript terms that we learned? Okay, what do functions do? What are those? Functions are little collections of code that we just want to execute given a situation. Some of the important things to note about functions are they can take arguments. Arguments will dictate how these functions behave. Every function will be different. Depending on what we pass to it, the function will behave differently. We also got a sneak peek into variables, data types, and conditionals. We use a combination of these 4 things right here. Obviously, there are many like smaller little things, and these little things are actually quite big, right? And there's super advanced ways of using all of these. Variables, which contain values, are named and have data. There are also different ways of using functions. Right now, we've shown you guys the simplest way to write a function. There are many other ways, and you guys will learn other ways. You guys will see other ways. I'm going to show you other ways very soon. Also, remember we had data types, guys. We can't treat all data the same. We can't treat oranges like apples, lemons like limes. They're different. And then conditionals. Remember we had an if-else. We looked at what the user entered for USD to VND. Remember? The user would we would prompt them, they'd give us some data, and we'd look at that. And that piece of data, whatever was inside that variable, would dictate how our application behaved. Now we're going to figure out how to hook up HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Remember, JavaScript is going to add behavior. For this week, we're going to be using a couple of very important functions, which come default with pretty much all browsers. Yeah. When you guys have you guys ever heard someone tell you don't use like Internet Explorer? Have you ever seen internet memes that say don't use Internet Explorer? Right? Put it this way. Internet Explorer hasn't been updated to use all the most advanced stuff. So sometimes we need to continue using these keywords here that you guys can see. These are functions. You guys see these, and to make a long story short, it just makes certain things break on Internet Explorers because it's doing it the old way. This is the old way of doing the exercise we're about to do. But it's important that we understand this because the basics are important. Get element by ID is a way to target an element, okay? To find an element that we want and then to do something with it. We can also get elements by class name. Remember, guys, we can look at HTML elements can have IDs and class names, right? And that's what the objective is here. I don't want to show you code. I'll show you code in just a second. We also need to understand how to inspect our elements using our Google developer tools, our Chrome developer tools. Obviously, the other tools do pretty much the same thing. But they have all types of attributes. That's all. You guys need to understand what's on the left. These are what we call keys. On the right is what we call attributes. They're attributes or values. Certain concepts are going to apply across all programming languages, so that's why there are many different names for the same type of thing, right? It's the same concept. I can be a brother in Vietnam or in America, and in Vietnam I can be an anh. It's the same concept though, okay? I can be a brother in America and in Vietnam. Okay, so there's also this other important thing called event listeners. You guys have worked with some of these. Not exactly, right? You guys just kind of use a little bit of CSS. Whenever our mouse hovered over something, it changed. See how mouse changes a little bit, maybe? Right? This is done using JavaScript. and event listeners. You guys aren't gonna figure out what that means this week, but you will soon. Oops. Okay, so a note on JavaScript frameworks. In this class, we're gonna be using React. Oops, I kind of got ahead of ourselves. This week, we're focusing on JavaScript, okay? The purpose of focusing on JavaScript and doing the basics is so that whenever you guys apply for a company that doesn't use the frameworks that are really popular now, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, something else is super popular, you guys will still understand how they all basically function, okay? But specifically in our class, we're gonna be using React. If you guys, does anyone here know what React is?
More of like a front-end based platform for using JavaScript?
No. Kinda. It uses JavaScript and it's focused on the front end. You got those two things right. But the end goal of React is to produce beautiful UIs, given state.
How's it different from Bootstrap?
Bootstrap doesn't think for you, and it cannot decide what to show on the screen. Right? So like, imagine like if I sign in and sign out. Does Bootstrap know how to hide the input, hide the output? Gotcha. Oops. Fuck. Okay, so right here, for example, right? Bootstrap can make this center. It can make this to-do list center. It can give me a background color, a footer, a navigation, etc. But Bootstrap does not know how, if I click this button right here, how to hide all of this right here and also change the navigation bar. So I'm gonna click this button, and you can see that because I'm not signed in, I don't have any to-dos. How can the computer know what to-dos belong to me if I'm not signed in? Bootstrap can also not know how to hide and show these inputs right here. So I'm gonna click this button, sign in.
Bootstrap does have the responsiveness that if you change the screen size, it'll change things, but not quite like
Well, okay, I didn't even use
React can store information.
It doesn't know how to handle state. Just put it this way. Right now, what is the state of my application right now? Let's think about this. Am I signed in? If you ask my application, is signed in, what would it say?
No.
We'd say false. We're going to represent this using very important programming keywords. It's a Boolean. It's going to say false, right? Is signed in is going to be false. And because of that, the application should be smart enough to know, like, hey man, if you're not signed in, you should see a sign in form. And when you are signed in, you should not see one. So that's what React will do for us. It's going to say, hey, you're it's a reactive program, or it's a reactive framework based on the state of the application. Okay, so like here, we're going to start real small, okay? We're going to start real small in the lab, and I'm going to show you. We're going to figure out how to do a very simple example of how to change things on the screen. Okay. Okay. There are many other frameworks. React is just the most popular right now. You guys may see blogs and tutorials using jQuery. We're not going to talk about it in this class because it's not as popular as it used to be. It used to be super duper popular, like in the early 2000s. And there's still legacy frameworks that are using it. When we say legacy, it just means really old stuff. Okay, something that was built like a long time ago and it still works great, and no one wants to touch it because it's making them money, right? It's just there, it works, right? So sometimes you might see old companies, that use legacy stuff, and it's just.
So like the jQuery that's in the code probably isn't doing anything anymore though, but no one wants to mess with it anyway.
It's not doing anything. It's not broken. It's still generating revenue, right? It's a project that works, and people are just like, well, I mean, like if it's not broken, don't touch it.
Generate money, but the jQuery code in the JavaScript, is that still doing something?
I mean, it can still work. Yeah, there's certain websites that still use jQuery.
Okay.
You guys can test whether or not a website uses jQuery by opening up your browser right here and just typing in $. So this is using jQuery right here. There's some jQuery here. And to be honest with you, certain tools that we use will be using jQuery itself. Not all, but some. Okay, some.
Directly use it, but the tool will.
Yeah, it's just so fundamental, basic, there's just simpler ways of doing it. But we don't even need to learn it. Trust me, you guys don't need to know how to use that. And there's some other frameworks called like animate.css. If we finish early and the class is doing well, I'll show you guys what this does, okay? Okay, so let's get into a tutorial. Let's get into a demonstration of what we're doing. Okay, so remember a second ago I talked about something as simple as signing in and signing out, right? The state of the application, right? What if I click a button I want to change, right? So I don't need you guys to do everything super complicated right now, okay? I just want you guys to build a currency converter. We're going to use a little bit of the knowledge that we used yesterday, right? We can build on that. And what's it going to do? So obviously, what do you guys see up here up top? A prompt. It tells the user what to do, right? I want you guys to constantly be prompting your user and telling them what to do. You almost never ever see what we did yesterday on the web, right? When's the last time you guys went to Facebook and you saw a pop-up and Facebook told you to, to enter something and didn't let you do anything else? That's an old way of doing it. We don't do that anymore, okay? We need to be better. So, we prompt the user. Obviously, this text is going to change one day, right? We're going to change it based on some conditions, right? But let's say we hit enter value. I have 100,000 Vietnam dong, okay? I want to convert it to USD. I'm going to see a little pop-up right here. It's converted my 100,000 to 4.35 USD. What if I had 100,000 USD and I wanted to convert that to Vietnam dong? That would be 2.3 billion. Is this about right, guys? I think it is. I'm not a whiz at math, but I'm pretty sure this is right. Okay, so you guys pay attention to these files right here, right? You guys will see where it says scripts.js, child.js, red.js. This is not coming from anywhere. Somewhere we did a console log. Did you guys see me type console log right here? Look at this right here. That type console log. But I could type console log. So what happened here? Okay, show me the code. This is where we see code.
Did you change the background stuff like the VS Code?
Which one do you guys like?
Oh, they're gonna be the light ones.
That one okay? Okay, so what do we have here? We have an index.html. Actually, let me show you guys. We gotta reinforce some concepts here, okay? Where am I at right now, guys? Just tell me something that you know about where I'm at based on this terminal output.
In the no captain folder on your desktop.
Okay. Tell me something else.
It has 4 files.
It has 4 folders specifically, but it's okay. Good job. Thank you. So we're gonna move into our currency converter. I'm gonna type in ls, and I can see what? I have one JS folder, one index.html file. So let's explore in VS Code to make our lives easier. Inside of inside of this directory of this project, we have an index.html. At the very bottom, we're using script tags. These script tags are importing files for us to use. Okay? So you can see that right here on line 26. What is this called? This is called a relative path. I'm telling the web page on line 26 to say, hey, look inside this JS folder, inside of another folder called childfolder.js for a file called child.js. Okay? So let's prove that this works. We look into JS, we look into childfolder.js, and then we look into child.js. Someone give me a superhero. Someone give me a color. Okay, we're gonna save, we're gonna refresh, and look, child.js has Batman in blue. So I proved to you that this console.log that we're seeing right here is coming from line 26 right here. And line 26 is importing a file called child.js, which is inside of a folder called child folder, which is inside of a file called JS. You guys all with me? There are many different ways to get the files that we need. Okay, this is the old school way. This is the most basic way. This is how we need to write this is how we're going to You guys remember me saying that a project is simply a collection of different files and folders that work together? This is what I'm talking about. So we're gonna have 3 different files now, guys. Guess which files we're gonna have?
HTML.
An HTML, a scripts.js.
And CSS.
Exactly, okay? One day you're gonna have many of these folders and files. Right now, I want you to start small, and we'll only do it inside of one file, okay? All your JavaScript can go inside of one file, scripts.js.
So you saw those 3 lines because each one of your JavaScript files has a console log?
Exactly. So you can nest it however you want, right? So for example,
I was confused by the console logs yesterday. So if you put that in your code and then you go over into your console in your browser, you're gonna see every console log you put will pop up over there. Like, why do you see all?
I put these here to demonstrate to you that that there's 3 files that I'm importing. And as a matter of fact, this is actually I kind of jumped ahead. I'm sorry. The important thing here that I want you guys to do is that whenever you guys try to import a file, console.log before you do anything else. Make sure that you imported the file correctly. Okay? Make sure that you imported the file. Let's just say I wanted to create a new file. Right? Let's just say new JavaScript.js, okay? I jump over to my index.html. I change this file name to new JS.js. And then what's the first thing I want to do? I want to test to make sure I got this. Someone give me a superhero.
Spider-Man.
Someone give me a number. 10. So let's save it, refresh. Oops. Did I save it? Save. Save.
Is the new JS in the child folder?
See, that's what I mean. Thank you. See, we all need to work together and we need to test. So, like right there, we could have spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with our code. But the problem was we just didn't import it correctly. It's inside of child folder. Thank you, 10. Okay, we'll save. And we can see Spider-Man.10. Okay? This is the type of shit that's going to take a lot of time. When we fuck up stuff like this.
So do you leave console logs throughout the code?
No, you delete them as you go. You delete them once you're done with them. I want you guys to constantly be writing console logs, and then whenever you're done, delete them. Very simple. You know, and you can even delete the files. This is just a proof of concept. So, okay, so we delete it. Now we see our console log is quite clean. All right, let's go ahead and delete the one in the top of scripts.js. Okay, so I gave you a quick tour of the code base. You guys know what the end objective is, right? Now I'm going to demo it. So now I'm going to move out of this project and I'm going to delete everything inside of this folder. All right, sweet. We can start from scratch. This ain't too complicated. So we'll go ahead and make a new directory. Make directory, currency converter. All right, we're gonna move into it. Okay, we're gonna create a couple files. The ones that we need, right? Index.html, readme.md, scripts.js, styles.css. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open our code editor, and we can see that we have 4 folders here, right? So what am I gonna do in index.html? I'm going to cheat. I don't wanna type this again, it takes too much time, and I will typo. I'm going to save. I can see that the path on line 16 is not exactly the same as how I set it up, so that's okay. We can just make these folders. So we'll make 2 folders. We'll move our scripts.js into the JS folder, right? And I think that should work. But let's go ahead and test to make sure that this works. Fuck me. Save. Why do you keep warning me? And you can see that we successfully imported our file. Okay, let's go ahead and fix these other errors, or these other warnings. I think this one is. We need to make sure we get our styles.css. Go ahead and delete this. And let's go ahead and update our title. Where's that? Title right here. Let's say currency. And we see that we updated it. So me personally, right, what are we looking at right here, guys? We're looking at a white screen. I don't know what we're building. I personally like kind of putting a little bit of UI up first and then figuring out what we're gonna do later. There's a couple of different ways to do it. So I'm just gonna show you what I think I like doing, and then you guys can just have to practice. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna throw up a header. So inside of our H1, we're gonna do H1. We're gonna say enter the value to convert. Save it. All right, we got it. Okay, so now what do we need, guys? We need something for the user to actually enter information, right? We need an input. Specifically, it's called an input. Okay, we save it, and then we see we have our input. The user can enter data. Okay, so what's the last thing we're gonna need? A button. We'll say convert to Vietnam Dong. Okay, we save it, refresh it, and we can see that we have a button. But now, if we type in 100,000, nothing happens, right? So we need to do something. Guys, if I'm moving fast, let me know.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am. Okay, so what do we need to do, guys? What did we learn yesterday? Functions. We need to define some functions that are going to fire based on some conditions. Okay? And this function is going to look at our data, the input of the user, and then it's going to perform some calculations, and then somehow this function needs to update our UI. Okay, it needs to update the UI somehow. So we're gonna call it onConvert to Vietnam Dong. That's what we're gonna call it. We're gonna give this function a body. What the fuck? Okay, so let's just do a console log, and it was this console log the name of the function. Okay, so here's the name of the function. Here's our file. If I click this button right here, shouldn't we see a console.log? The problem is that we have not yet defined how the function will fire. When will the function fire? Under what condition? So this is where we're going to apply the function. We need to apply this function to our HTML over here on the left. Okay? So in order to do that, we want, and what's the situation in which we want to fire this function, guys?
When you click the button.
Okay, that's exactly what we want. So where do we have a button? Give me a line number, guys. On what line do we have a button?
18.
Okay, so on line 18, we're going to add an additional attribute. This attribute is an onClick attribute. It's called the onClick attribute. The value of the onClick attribute is the name of the function that we want to fire. OnConvert to VND. Okay, so what were we trying to do just a moment ago, guys? We want to see line 2 in the script.js fire. So we're going to save this. We're going to save script.js, and then we're going to test. Oh, shit, it did not work. Okay, I made a typo. My bad. We need to add some parentheses here. Okay? It's the name of the function and then the parentheses on line 18. Okay? You save it, refresh it. If I click it, I expect to see a console log. And we do, in fact, see a bunch of console logs. I can click this a million times, and we're going to see a bunch of times that this function fires right here. Line 2 is going to execute. But that is not interesting. The console log is useless to us. What do we actually want to have happen when we click that button?
Calculation, return.
We want to perform the calculation on the currency's value, and then we want to format it, and then we want to stick it on the HTML. Okay? So let's start real simple, okay? Let's just perform the calculation. So, how can we determine remember, what were the 3 pieces of data that we had to have yesterday? We had to have the current currency, the current currency, or the from currency, the to currency, and the currency value, right? So right now we're going to start simple. I don't want to do the from and to. We're just going to figure out how much they have, okay? So we need to figure out what is inside of here. How can we do that? Okay, so watch this. We're going to run some JavaScript. Inside of your browser, there's this globally defined object called the document object. It's just like the console object. So we can do document.getElement by tag name, and then we'll pass it. Which one are we interested in, guys? We're interested in this input right here. So I go up and I hit value. Oops. Fuck me. Value. I expect this to work. Okay, I'm gonna do the advanced way. It's not super advanced actually. We're just gonna give it an ID. Okay, I'm gonna do ID is input value. Okay, so we put input value here. We save it, copy it. We're gonna use the globally defined document object. This document object has a bunch of functions on it. Watch this. Console.log document. This is an object. The object has a bunch of stuff inside of it. You don't need to know it all right now, but it's just magical. This is where we actually start using magic in this class, okay? Certain things are magical for us. We don't need to know how that works, okay? So what am I going to do now? Document.getElement by ID, and then I'm going to pass it an argument, because remember, this is a function call. What tells you guys that this is a function call? The parentheses. See these parentheses at the very end? That's us firing a function call, okay? So the function call is going to take an argument. This argument is going to be of data type string. And the value of the string is going to be the name of the element on the HTML that we want. And what is that? It's this thing right here on line 17. Okay? That is the element that we're interested in when we click this button. Because let's think about it, okay? Let's think about this for a moment. When I click this button, I need to know what's inside of here. If I do not know what's inside of this input, how can I perform a calculation? Right? So let's just go ahead and see what's inside of it right now. So remember, document.getElement by IDs, that's simply targeting. We're saying, hey, this is the element I want to look at. So now we need to look at its value. So we'll type in value. Oh shit. And we see that we have 1,000. What if I hit Batman and I ran the same function? We could see that we would now get Batman. Yes?
Are we using the console on the browser instead of the one on the VS Code or JavaScript?
Because I think it's, in my personal opinion, it's easier for you to see what's going on right now. Because right now I'm just showing you in the browser that you can type code into your console and see that code execute in its results. Right? I can do the exact same thing. We're going to copy and paste that over in just a moment. Okay? So let's go ahead and copy this. So now we know how, when the user clicks on convert to VND, we know how to target an HTML element on line 17 and extract its value. Okay? So we paste that in. If we can say const value. Okay? So this is the value. So remember, if someone's converting to VND, what's going to happen? We're going to take that money and then we're going to, if it's USD that they have, divided by 23,000. We'll say const new value. Okay? So I don't know what's inside of here. Do any of you guys know? We can guess, but we do not know. So let's go ahead and console.log and see what we've got so far. So we'll console log new value. We'll refresh. I type in $100, right? Yeah, it's okay. I don't care what you guys put in here. What's important is that you guys know that exactly which line of code this is coming from. That's why I always say random superhero, random color. I want you to know exactly what line of code this is. So let's go ahead and hit 100 and we convert. And we can see that 100, I don't think that calculation is that. Think about it. So this is convert to VND. Oh, if you have USD and you convert to VND, you want to multiply. So let's refresh. I have 100 USD. I convert to VND, and I have 2.3 million. Okay, so we've successfully performed some calculations. All right.
So back to the code. So the name that you give it in the red, that's just the name that you're
right here.
Calling it. But then the blue, that actually has to match. Right. That's.
Are you saying right here on line 4?
Yeah. So the red, you're just giving it a name.
So this is just me helping myself understand what line of code is, because what you said a second ago, right, is eventually you're gonna have a bunch of different console logs, right, and you're not actually going to see only your console logs. You see console logs from other team members. You're gonna see failures. You're gonna see warnings. You're gonna see a bunch of different things that pop up in your console in the console.
Message to yourself.
Yeah, it's being explicit to yourself about where this is.
Do a message first, and then you call.
So what are we looking at? What am I interested in? I'm not interested in some variable that I haven't defined yet. I'm not interested in like, I don't know, Sean's age. I'm No, I don't have a variable called Sean's age. In the context of this function, I'm looking at two variables.
And you were saying yesterday, so you can do multiple in the console log?
Oh, for sure, yeah, you can go like this, you know? So we save it, we refresh, we pipe in 100, you know? This is actually amazingly complicated. There's just so many things you can console log. It's crazy. You can make it different colors. Console.log, colors. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna show you this real quick. Okay, real quick, fuck it, we're already on the subject. Let's just copy this bad boy right here. And refresh, hit convert. Okay, this is all to help you understand your code. Okay, so let's get back to it. Where were we at? We were, okay, so we got the new calculation. What do we want to do now? We want to format it, and then we want to put it in the screen. Okay, so I'm just going to look at the code I already wrote, man. I don't feel like doing this again. I want you guys to all look at code that you previously wrote. That is your job. Your job is to look at code that you wrote so that you save your company money. Okay? They didn't want you to write everything from the beginning. It just takes too much time. So I'm just gonna look at this one right here, copy it, paste it above my function, uncomment. And what are the values that this, what are the arguments that this function requires for it to behave correctly? Okay, nice. Okay, so how can we get this function to execute? Okay, what do I want to call it? Yes, I want to call the format currency function within the body of onConvert to VND. Okay, because these are actually what we call single responsibilities. One function should not do multiple things. I could potentially just copy all this right here, right? That's possible, right? But then what's going to happen to the code? We need to have one for convert to VND and USD, right? And then we want to have one for, I don't know, euros. Then we want to have one for Japanese yen. Obviously, this is excessive, and you do not want to do this. And now the problem is that you need to switch this in multiple places. The exact same code that does the exact same thing needs to be updated in exactly the same way, however many they are. This is not how you want to write your code. So I'm going to delete all this. Okay. So now what are we going to do? We're going to call this function, right? We're going to call the function, and what are we going to pass it? We can pass it 2 arguments. What's the first argument? How is it going to be used here? Another skill that you guys need to develop is that you need to be able to look at a function and look at its signature. That's the word you want to know here, signature. So you look at its arguments, type, value. What is it going to do with the type, guys? It's going to pass the type to another data type. And that data type is basically going to do the magic for us, okay? So what are we doing here? We want it to be VND, right? And what's the value? What are we going to pass to it? Exactly. We want to pass the new value that we just made the conversion. So I'm going to name this formatted currency. Okay, so now the question becomes, right? Let's just make sure that this works correctly. We'll console.log. What's it? Come on, babe. Right? We save it. Close this. Refresh. I have 100 USD. I convert to VND. Damn. That's amazing. It's converted correctly. And also it was formatted correctly. So how can we get this number right here to go somewhere on the UI? Right? Right? Our user's not going to open up their Chrome console and do this for us. They want to have buttons. They want to see headers. And they want to see pretty little colors and stuff like that. So we're going to define a new HTML element. We're going to call this one H3. We're going to give it a style of color is green. Okay. We're going to give it one more thing. We're going to give it an ID so that's easy to target. There are many different ways to target. Remember, just like in your CSS, you can target this almost a million different ways. I'm going to do an ID because we're only going to ever have one place where we want to stick it. We don't want to stick it in 20 different places. It's okay to use IDs. So I'm going to call this one converted value. Converted value. Okay, we save it. We hop back over to our convert to VND. What can we do here? So let's just test over here just to see. Okay, I'm going to document.getElementById. I'm going to give it the name of the element that I want to target. This is the girl that I'm going to ask to prom, okay? I'm going to hit dot value. I'm going to set it to be whatever it is I want. Mariah Carey. Did I do that wrong? Save it. Come on, baby. Converted value. I think this should work. Save. Okay, I'm going to try this over here, and we're about to figure out whether or not there's some edge case that I'm not aware of. So I'm going to paste this right here. Dot values h right there. I think that should work. Save. Okay, we'll refresh. We'll type in some value. We'll hit convert to VND. What? The ID is converted value. Converted value. Let's okay. Now we got to Google HTML update. It's interesting. Let's go ahead and put something here.
Console log on the JavaScript file.
Say again.
You need to use the console log on the JavaScript file.
Yeah, we probably should. I was pretty confident this would work. So do we have a formatted value? We do have a formatted value. I think so. I feel like that should be it. Document.get element by ID. Inner HTML. What? Why doesn't it have get? Why can't it find this? Converted value. Why doesn't? All right, let's do this simpler. Let's say test. This cannot be spelled wrong. It's impossible. Save. Oh, you know what? Let's actually refresh the page. That's what we should do, I think. So let's go ahead and open our live server. We're gonna paste it in. Oh, we found it. Sometimes you guys need to restart your servers, okay? That's a very normal thing. I think that's what the problem was. Converted value. Okay, so let's go ahead and test one more time in the console just to prove that this bad boy works. Okay, come on, baby. So I'm gonna hit this is the magical code that we write, and we're gonna say Mariah Carey. What? What the fuck? Okay, let's set okay, test, refresh, document.get element by ID, test, dot value is Mariah. Inner HTML. Okay, my bad. It was inner HTML. My bad. I did this wrong. My bad. So the actual, it's not value, it's dot inner HTML. Okay? So I think this should work now. So we're gonna say 100 USD convert to VND, and we click convert. Remember what's gonna happen, guys. It's going to run this code here. And then we got our converted value. Okay. So we had a couple roadblocks there. Sorry. But we figured it out with a little bit of teamwork. Okay, so do we have any questions, guys? And for those of us that were late, this isn't magic, okay? We need to figure out, let's go ahead and review what we did so far, okay? We created a new project. It's simply a file on our computer. Mine happens to be on my desktop inside of a folder called LCaptain, inside of another folder called currency converter. If I look at the content of this folder, I see I have what? A README, a CSS, an index, a JS. CSS and JS are folders. These folders contain additional files, right? And one of these additional files is which one? Scripts.js. We can add multiple files if we wanted. Okay, let's test. Let's just say I wanted a file called red.js. Okay, so what on line 23? Line 23 is the exact same folder that I'm currently in. Who am I? Who am I? I am index.html. I'm going to create a new folder now, or a new file called red.js. And to prove that this file was in fact incorporated into our index.html, we're going to console.log red.js to prove it. Now we're going to hop back over to our browser, and when we refresh the page, we see this console log. Okay, so do you have any questions on, yes?
So is the script can call the JavaScript by itself if I don't want to put it in an HTML file? Would that be easier, or is there any disadvantages of it?
Say, would you just say again? Repeat it again?
The script JS, I just want the HTML file to call one script only.
Yeah.
The script I want to the main script call it. Would that be okay, or would that slow down the?
You want to put everything inside one file, right?
No, I want to have several script JS too,
Okay, so you want to have multiple files.
but I want only one the main script call it.
Okay, that's cool. You should do it that way. Later on, you are going. Well, like that's eventually what happens. Kind of. It depends, man. It depends. There's a couple different ways for the end user, right? But like whenever we consolidate all our files into one file that's going to be downloaded by a user that goes to our website, the reality is that they take all that JavaScript and they stick it in one file so that the computer can read it very, very quickly, right? The same thing happens. Remember when Bootstrap? Remember when we looked at Bootstrap and it's that animate that one file, bootstrap.css. It was like one file that's like 10,000 lines long. The reality is that there are a couple processes, right? Somehow the computer figures out how to take all these files and put it in one file, and then it deletes it. It deletes, like, the computer will do a bunch of other things for us, right? What we call is a production build. Basically what you're talking about is a production build, right? Then it'll delete all this unnecessary white space, just do a bunch of steps so that the computer doesn't have to waste time reading, right? It doesn't want to see any white spaces, any just a bunch of stuff. It'll do a bunch of stuff for us, right? So for what you're saying, I think what you're saying is that you want to have
So to be short, so if I want to call the red,
so you want to have something like this, right? Main.js, and then you want to say like my scripts, I'm going to call something in here, right? You're going to say console.log main.js, right? You want to write some here so it's clear, right? And then you want to use that function here, right?
yes.
So we just had a function that said
So how do I call it?
should be like hi, we say console.log hi inside of main.js. We save it. How do I have access to hi inside of scripts.js?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you need to do something called require. You want to do require, and you want to do main.js. Okay, so let's see whether or not we can get this to work. We'll fire our hi. Okay, we'll fire that function, and we'll see whether or not it works. So refresh. Okay, hi is not defined, so it did not work. Okay, JS, import another JS file.
Why would you not just put all the files in HTML then? Can you do that?
So like there's just a bunch of different practices, right? Like the community, right? Some people say that you should do it this way. Some people say you should do it that way. I think it's good that you know how to do all of them. To be honest with you, like it's okay. But just know that. But for right now, can you please try to put everything in scripts.js for right now? Because like it's gonna confuse me, and right now I don't want to get away from like the class time. I'll figure this out and I'll show you later. Okay? There are ways to do this. Right now, if you need to have multiple files, you can just do it this way right here. Okay?
Is that because you're saying like you have two different JavaScript files and you wanted them to interact with each other?
Yes.
Okay, so do you guys? Okay, so hold on. Let me just make sure that everyone's on the same page about what's going to happen today. Okay. Remember, today we're going to build a currency converter on our front end. Let me go ahead and clear this. What does the currency converter do? A user enters some values, or enters a value, 100 USD. They enter, or they click convert to VND. The calculation is performed, and then our UI is drawn. The user needs to know what the value is. Okay. You guys can make this way better. Right? I want to know how much I previously had. I want to know what the original amount was. I want this to clear automatically whenever the user hits enter. That's actually an important requirement. Okay? Clear automatically. I want when I load this screen for me to not have to click this. I want it to be auto-focused. Okay? These are all keywords I'm letting you know right now. These are keywords. I want this to auto-focus. Okay? I want you guys to think about the user because that's your job. Think about the user. Make their life easier. Make the screen better. Other stuff. Okay? Sorry for if I'm sounding demanding here. This is if you get done early. Okay? If you get done early, for those of you who did a good job yesterday and felt like you flew through it really well, there's always more to build. Okay? We have all afternoon. Do you have any questions?
So you changed the value to inner HTML. So what's the difference?
Okay, so this is a function. This is a method that we get for free from our document object. Our document object has a bunch of different functions. Like it's almost like it's an infinite list of things it can do. Let's just Google it. Document object model. Okay, it's called the DOM. I completely forgot this keyword. This is a whole you can spend the rest of your career just figuring out what this thing does.
With the React, it's a virtual DOM.
They kind of all work together. Don't worry about React too much right now. Like I'm going to show you. Just trust me. We're going to do React. We're going to do it. We gotta focus on this because React is a combination of a bunch of functions. That's all it is. What you guys are doing right now, we're gonna do that in React. We're gonna write a bunch of little functions. They're gonna do a bunch of little things. And these functions are gonna pass data back and forth. Remember, guys, format currency. It got some data from somewhere. Where did it get its value? It got its value from the call we gave it. We called it on line 12, and we passed it 2 different pieces of data. The type was the first argument. The new value was the second argument. Where did we get new value? We performed some calculations. Okay, very simple. This line right here, line 11. Okay, to perform those calculations, how did we get the data, the value, to perform the calculation on? By using the DOM. We use the DOM to extract a value. Okay, that's a review. Okay, so you guys go ahead and get working. I'll let you guys get to it.